It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Warren.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, covering news, culture, dramatic warfare. Will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into Simply Bitcoin Live, the most watched daily Bitcoin live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We have lots to talk about today. I'm going to just address exactly what I wrote in the thumbnail of today's video. We're all going to get rich. And the reason for that is simple. The way that Jeff Booth explained this, he did it. He explained it on when he came on Simply Bitcoin IRL. Highly suggest watching that interview. Literally, my mind gets blown every time Jeff Booth talks. And then I think he recently went on the CoinStories podcast hosted by Natalie Brunell, and he's explaining how we cannot conceptualize a world on a Bitcoin standard. And he threw out this wild price prediction of exactly $43 million per Bitcoin. And he explains the reasoning. And of course, we have the clip for you guys, so stay tuned. But the general gist of it is something that you guys have to understand is that the way that the world should work is it should be deflationary. And we see this in technology. Like, bigger TVs, they get progressively cheaper. Like what it used to cost, like what those brick phones back in the 90s used to cost you. Now an iPhone is like a third of that cost, even though this is a lot more functionality. And the case that Jeff Booth makes is the reason that that's happening is because governments being in control of money kind of completely ruins the price signals. And they're incentivized to keep this inflationary thing going. And they do that by this crazy government spending. They do that by the endless wars. They're incentivized to do that. Bitcoin, because it can't be corrupted, because it can't really necessarily be controlled, is the true price signal of the world. And if you take a look at Bitcoin, and if you take a look at the world priced in Bitcoin, things just get cheaper over time. So Bitcoin is actually the truth. Bitcoin is actually pointing out how the world would work under a sound money standard. And that makes you extremely optimistic about the future. This is why I put it in the thumbnail. We're all going to get rich. I mean, $43 million per Bitcoin. That's insane. That's unbelievable, right? I think Hal Finney's prediction was $10 million per coin, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what the world would look like under a deflationary standard. Jeff Booth has such an elegant way of putting it. I mean, he wrote an entire book about it called The Price of Tomorrow, right? So we're going to talk about that as well. And also this continued trend, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin is entering the political sphere. Keep saying that, keep beating the battle drums, but I think it's incredibly important. If you live in the United States, in fact, if you live anywhere worldwide, vote for candidates. I believe in the theory from the sovereign individual. I do believe that Bitcoin will make politics irrelevant over the long run, but we're not quite there yet. We're in this transitionary period. That being said, get involved, take action, take agency. And yes, I think the most important vote you can make is taking Bitcoin into self-custody, but the traditional fiat voting, I think, still does matter. If you want to stay in your jurisdiction, you want the politicians, you want the unproductive class to be favorable towards Bitcoin. And another major milestone happened yesterday, and we have more coverage on that today, which is the Republican Party, not only the candidate, Donald Trump, but the entire Republican Party is taking a pro-Bitcoin stance, pro-self-custody stance, pro-right-to-mine stance. So it's pretty simple. And in the US, it's a two-party system. You either vote for the party that is pro-slavery, pro-CBDC, pro-central bank digital currencies, anti-Bitcoin, or you vote for the party that is pro-Bitcoin, pro-Bitcoin mining, pro-self-custody. It's black and white at this point, right? And I know that perhaps could strike people the wrong way, but that is the reality, and people have to get with the reality. Anyways, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be me and Opti hosting it together. I love it when me and Opti do it together. I feel like it just flows. Bring Opti up on stage. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing wonderful.
We haven't done this in a while, bro. It's not
Dude,
showing
it's been
up
a minute, bro.
It's not showing the view count up, but I think we're streaming everywhere. I'm pretty sure.
Let me see. Let me double check.
Anyways, what are we going to cover during the culture? We are streaming everywhere. I just checked.
Yeah, we're streaming. Yeah, actually, before we go in, I want to first touch on the Jeff Booth thing because
It's going up forever, Laura.
everyone knows that. So here we are. And actually, I don't know if I want to say it, Nico. I didn't just come up laughing and smiling. I was thinking of a joke here, but I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna translate well. So maybe I'll save it for Nico after the show. But what we're gonna cover today. So, like I've been saying, we've had guests on the show for I don't know the last 2-3 weeks, and I've seen you guys in the chat telling me and talking about and asking about UTXO management. So we're going to do some UTXO hygiene. Of course, you know, our sponsor, Bitcoin Well, they basically make sure that you have to do the UTXO management. So if you've been stacking with Bitcoin Well, or rather any Bitcoin only exchange at this point, like this is something you're going to have to consider. And I've been saying for a while, when we go over the numbers, that the fees are going down. So right now, while things are calm, you know, before things start getting crazy going into the bull run, you want to consider about your UTXO management and the Bitcoin you're holding, because you don't want to get in a position when the fees get crazy again and have unspendable Bitcoin. So we're going to go over that in the culture. I am going to read some articles, give you guys some good tidbits, and then Nico and I will discuss it a little bit. So we're doing some, guys, this culture is going to be probably a little more technical and boring than usual, but this is some information that you need to make sure you're thinking of moving forward, because there's some things you have to think about in Bitcoin that you don't necessarily have to think about with cash or your traditional banking, you know, debit card and stuff. But hey, we got you covered.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm excited about that. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people forget, right? You know, if you're going to send these small little transactions to a single address, you might be absolutely get wrecked by fees later down the road. So it's a good idea to consolidate every once in a while. Just you know, put all your UTXOs together. So I'm happy that we're hitting that topic, because I think a lot of people just don't understand that part of Bitcoin, but they totally should. It comes natively to you, like after you've been in Bitcoin for a while. All of this stuff, like, it just becomes common sense. But especially if you're getting into Bitcoin,
it's super easy. It's super easy. It's just you got to think about it a little bit.
Exactly. It might be quite complicated. Anyways, in the beginning, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor, of course, and I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. To get started, all you got to do is you put in your email address. You head over to bitcoinwell.com, put in your email address, you get started. It's a clear 1% spread. It's obviously Bitcoin only, and it's completely non-custodial. Empowering sovereign ownership with free automatic self-custody. So what does non-custodial mean? That means that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well and leave it on the platform. That's what makes Bitcoin Well different. And that's why Bitcoin Well perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state, because self-custody is the revolution. So when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well and your funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. It doesn't even give you the ability to leave it on the platform, right? Gotta support self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramps, the only one in the US being bitcoinwell.com. That's what pushes forward the revolution. Enable your independence today. Also, stay tuned towards the end of the show, because Bitcoin Well and Simply Bitcoin, we will be giving away free sats. You can win up to 1 million Satoshis. We'll let you guys know when it happens. So have your Lightning wallets ready to go. And we'll do that towards the end of the show. We'll do the Bitcoin Well, Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. And yeah, it gives you an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure. Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, everybody. I made it incredibly easy for you guys. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, and that will take you directly to Stamp Seed website. Store your generational wealth properly. Stamp it on titanium. Don't be a schmuck and write it on paper. Promo code simply to get a 15% discount. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $58,020. Sats per dollar, 1,724. Block height, 851,567. Blocks to halving, 198,433. Halving estimate, March 31st, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,984 BTC. Capacity value, 289 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.53%. Market capitalization, 1.14 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 7.05%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting started. Anyways, I was talking about this phenomenon, how again, it's this Bitcoin is entering into the mainstream political discussion. And like I said yesterday, this isn't happening because politicians are doing this out of the goodness of their heart. This is happening because politicians need to pander to Bitcoiners in order to get elected. And we have become such a influential and powerful force that, you know, you have politicians conceding and basically saying, listen, if you vote for me, I'll free Ross, because they know that that's something that Bitcoiners care about. This is how politics work. At the end of the day, if you want to get elected into office in the US specifically, I'm pretty sure worldwide, you need a tremendous amount of funding and money behind you. And guess what? As number go up, does its thing, Bitcoiners become wealthier and therefore more influential in society. Right? That's just the reality. Anyways, here is Piran. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. She's the founder and CEO. Thank you, Opti. And she's the founder and CEO of Digital Chamber. She had an interview regarding this topic specifically on CNBC yesterday. I'm going to play it and then we'll talk about it.
NFTs. What do you make of the Republican Party's embrace? And what's behind it? And where is it your sense that the Democrats in the current White House stand?
Hey, Kantata, it's great to be with you. And yes, as you noted, Donald Trump has come a very long way in his crypto policy. When he was president, he said he was not a fan of Bitcoin, or cryptocurrencies. And he's now matured into adopting a pro-crypto position for the entire GOP platform. This is a large result of education. It takes time to really understand the critical importance of Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Ultimately, blockchains are what we will use to facilitate transactions in the future digital economy. And it's in our interest. It's in the United States economic interest that we are the country that leads in the development of building this financial infrastructure. And it's also becoming the will of the people that whoever is in the White House adopts a pro-crypto policy. So we've come a long way, and this is very much legitimizing the technology itself.
So, I mean, look, she said it herself. I think, you know, she used the word blockchain. Obviously, we're not a fan of that. But, you know, and again, something to emphasize, too, is, you know, they're differentiating, and specifically in the documents, which we went over yesterday, they are differentiating between crypto and Bitcoin. They are saying Bitcoin and they are saying crypto, but, you know, they are taking a pro crypto position as a whole. And I know that's might be unpopular with a lot of Bitcoiners. But what I got to say to those Bitcoiners is, dude, you shouldn't be rooting for the government to pick and choose which quote unquote crypto has an advantage. Like, if we believe in Bitcoin and we believe Bitcoin has superior incentives and we believe that Bitcoin is better money, and I think we all believe that, right? Then the reality is simple. Like, Bitcoin is going to win on its own merits. It shouldn't get a special privilege from the government, right? I would say let the free market do what the free market does, and let the best currency win. Obviously, we believe it's Bitcoin. Why? Because you can't change the rules. With every other cryptocurrency, you can change the rules. Other cryptocurrency did not have an immaculate conception, didn't have a virgin birth. What does that mean? That means that when Satoshi created Bitcoin, he created it as an experiment. He didn't know it was going to have value down the road. Every other cryptocurrency that came after Bitcoin, the founders inherently knew that it was going to have value, which is why the founders kept such a large piece of the pie to themselves, right? As the case with Ripple, as the case with Ethereum. So let the best currency win. Bitcoin is equal for everybody, meaning Michael Saylor doesn't have more influence over the network than you do. Vitalik and Brad Garlinghouse have more influence over XRP and Ethereum, and they will change the rules to benefit themselves than everybody else. So it doesn't really change. Like, the cryptos don't really change. They're not very different from the fiat system, right? The fiat system, there's an elite that get to change the rules, manipulate the rules, print money to benefit themselves at the expense of everyone else. Bitcoin, the rules are set in stone. You cannot change that. And that, what it does is it protects the middle class. It protects the average Joe, the everyday man who's just there, slaving away in the fields, metaphorically, trying to make a living. It protects their money. So Bitcoin is money for the middle class. Bitcoin is money for everyone. I mean, I would say Bitcoin is money for everyone who believes in freedom and who doesn't believe in coercion and who doesn't believe in controlling other people. Because if you believe in those things, then Bitcoin is not a tool for you to enable that. But you can make a really strong argument that cryptocurrencies are. So anyways, all that being said, I'm very bullish on the fact that now we have a major political party in the United States who is vocally, they released a document. They're protecting the right to self-custody. They're pro-Bitcoin. They're protecting the right to mine. And then that puts the Democratic Party in a very disadvantageous position, because it's not exactly popular to be anti-Bitcoin. It's not exactly popular to be pro-CBDC. They're hoping that people are just not informed. And this is where you come in. Inform the people around you. Remember, this is not left versus right. This is not red versus blue. The Democrats created an opportunity for the Republicans to pounce on this issue because they've taken such an anti-Bitcoin stance as a whole. I don't think it will be politically viable by 2028, but I will say this: elections do have consequences. And this election, at least from a regulatory perspective, and Ross's freedom will mean something. It is a meaningful election. I know a lot of Bitcoiners don't like to hear that. Because they're anarcho-capitalists. Our boy Rustin, right? They don't believe in politics, right? We have a McLovin. I hate politics, but I'm definitely for any candidate who is pro-Bitcoin. I think a lot of Bitcoiners fall into that camp. I fall into that camp. I think me and Opti were literally waiting to the very last moment until I completely spontaneously exploded, metaphorically, when they locked the Samurai Wallet developers in jail. I was like, what the F happened here? And then I was like, okay, this is fucked up. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, bro? I know we've been talking about this, but dude, as we get closer and closer to the election, I think it's our responsibility to highlight this so that if you're a Bitcoiner in the United States, which is the majority of our audience, dude, go out and vote, because it's on the ballot. Bitcoin is on the ballot. Ross's freedom is on the ballot. Anyways, Opti, what's your take?
Yeah. So first and foremost, just, talking about that clip in general, I see everyone in the chat basically saying, politicians lie, and he's just, Trump's just saying this to get votes. Of course, that's his job. But without going into like the murky waters of saying that I'm not even gonna saying bad things about politicians in general. I think if you kind of take this on like a surface level and you kind of relate it to what we've all experienced as becoming Bitcoiners, you start as a skeptic. Maybe you find some interest in it. You try to debunk your own positivity about Bitcoin. And then once you learn more about it, you realize, oh, wow, Bitcoin really might be a solution to the world's problems. And so again, taking this on a surface level and following this progression, with Trump in regards to what we've seen in the last, what was it, like a month or so, he was kind of like shitcoin friendly. We know he's done like some NFTs in the past and he's just trying to get money, make sure that his campaign is well funded. But now I think after he's had these conversations with the most important miners in the world, and shouts out to the Bitcoin Mag team, I am going to give it the benefit of the doubt that maybe he's actually seeing there's a very, very strong responsibility to embrace Bitcoin as America. And so it just kind of reminds me of all of us as Bitcoiners. You come in, you're kind of skeptical, and then you realize about Bitcoin, you learn more about Bitcoin, and then you're like, oh, wow, like I'm all in on Bitcoin. So I'm kind of seeing the same progression. And again, just giving him the benefit of the doubt on this, and you guys can throw tomatoes all you want. Of course, he's a politician. He wants votes and all that stuff. I'm hopeful that he's actually being honest and he actually sees the use case and the importance of embracing Bitcoin in America. But going further, what we saw yesterday is it's not just Trump saying this now. It's basically the whole Republican Party realizing that, hey, if we want to get voted back in, we need to embrace Bitcoin. And now you're seeing that the basically part of the Republican platform now is embracing Bitcoin, which to me is a good thing. I think we should have politicians embracing Bitcoin, realizing that this is good for the country. If politicians are still caring about what the populace thinks, about what the people they're supposed to represent believe and what they want, then they should obviously embrace Bitcoin. And I think we're starting to see trends on this. And I think at this point, it might be okay for me to say my joke. I'm probably going to turn people away, but I'm going to say it nonetheless because I'm here for the entertainment value. After all, I'm here just to be comedic relief. So you guys remember Nico's famous saying of, if you're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom. And Nico's going to lose it on this one. I already know he's going to give me some backlash on this, but I'm going to say at this point, if you're not a Republican, you are anti-Bitcoin.
Oh man, I mean,
and this is coming from a Californian, so like it does. Like my mom's gonna freak out at me if she hears me say this, but I don't know. It's jokes, but I'm also kind of serious.
I mean, like no, but like in all seriousness, it's like they literally. I mean, the Democrats have been like pro censorship. They've been anti-Bitcoin. They've been anti the movement, and the repubs have come out and they've been pro the movement. So I'm just looking at it from that perspective.
Chad agrees.
Like whether like it's like yeah, like it's like lightning goats. Oh man, what the fuck? U.S. government owns 20,000. The chat's absolutely losing it. Elaine, I used to vote. I would say, Elaine, like you should totally vote because it's definitely, it definitely means something this year for sure. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to take a side of a political party, but what I will say is I'm voting for the political party that is pro Bitcoin because I think, if you fix the money, you fix you fix the world. And there's a lot of Republicans that are, I mean, no, like, you can't even say that anymore. like literally their entire statement is like the Republican Party is pro Bitcoin. Like this creates a great opportunity, by the way, for the Democratic Party to go out and be pro, take a stance on Bitcoin, and it gives them the great ability. Like that's a huge voter block. Like, why are they being silent? You know, I think the silence is speaking volumes, in my opinion. And I'll definitely change my mind immediately if they come out and they say, yo, the Democratic Party is pro Bitcoin as well. Anyways, all right. I do want to give a shout out to the best party that's coming up in 2 weeks. And of course, I'm talking about the Pleb Party in Nashville, Tennessee. It's going to be a 12-hour open bar from noon to midnight in Nashville the day before the Bitcoin 2024 conference. So this is going to be hosted Thursday, July 25th. Confirmed attendees include Larry Lepard, Preston Pish, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnup, Adam O'Brien, and many, many more. It's going to be hosted in an amazing venue, a rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls and tons of proof of work atmosphere. The last Pleb Party in Miami was sold out 8 days before. Over 1,000 Bitcoiners are expected to attend. You will not be able to buy tickets at the door because they will be sold out. So you want to get your tickets quickly. You want to get your tickets now. You could do that by scanning the QR code or checking the link in the video description. All right, everybody, let's hit the news.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. So I do want to talk about a very important topic, and this kind of leads me on to the Jeff Booth clip, which is what I want to focus on today's show. Don't just opt out of fiat on a financial level, opt out on a spiritual level as well. Right? So what does that mean? That means that, like, don't engage. Like, don't even engage with the madness because it just gives the madness more fuel. Focus on you. Focus on your health, focus on your stack, focus on, however it is that you're mining more fiat or earning Bitcoin to grow your wealth. Focus on that, and the world will get better for you. The world will get better for you. The world will get better for your family. A lot of the insanity that you're seeing throughout the world is literally a symptom of broken money. I was talking to a good friend of mine, BTC Sessions, and we were talking about this book based on what happened during the Weimar Republic and the hyperinflationary era of the right before the 1940s in Germany. And essentially what happened was that the moral decay of society started to accelerate. The politicians were so disconnected. They couldn't understand that the money printing itself was the cause of a lot of society's woes. And the difference between then and now is that now we have a way to opt out. And when you opt out, I've seen this happen so many times. Now we're seeing it on the nation state level as well. All of a sudden you start to kind of like heal a little bit, like sanity starts to be brought back. People start to get a little bit more based. They start to get, anchored to the truth, anchored to the universe. And I believe that's because their unit of account is anchored to the universe, anchored to the truth. I went on Breedlove's show, What is Money? A couple weeks ago. I think it was over a month ago now, but he just posted it. And we were getting through, we were like going down the rabbit hole and just kind of exploring these topics. And one of the things that he mentioned was like, there's this entropy, there's this decay in society that tends to happen over and over and over again. And the pattern that I've noticed is that it might be connected to the money. So, of course, we've all heard of, the Roman Empire meme and the Roman Republic. But if you take a look at what they did to the denarius, which was their unit of account, their currency, you know what they did? They inflated it. They something called coin clipping. So in the beginning of the Roman Republic, there was a certain amount of silver that was included in each denarius. Towards the end of the Roman Empire, the percentage of silver in each coin was very, very low. So what did they do? They debased the currency. They inflated the currency. And over time, what happened? Moral decay started to set in, price controls, and then the eventual inevitable collapse. So I don't know 100% sure, but what I will say is that I'm starting to pick up patterns and I'm starting to connect the dots. And what I will say, another thing, is that I think that your unit of account, money, plays such an instrumental role in the human experience. It is half of every transaction. It is how you talk to people when you're exchanging something. You use money. Like the barter system works, but it's not viable. It's not a viable scaling. It's not viable when you attempt to scale it, right? So you use money. It's all around you. How did you buy the laptop? How did you buy the phone? How did you buy the TV that you're watching us right now? How did I buy this microphone? How do we get paid from our sponsors? How do you get paid from, your place of employment? How? You get paid in money, and then you use that money to purchase other things. And then that money is fundamentally corrupted, and it psyoped us into thinking that we have to work harder and harder and harder, and that somehow it's a law of nature for money to lose purchasing power as time progresses. And then that leads me to my other thought. The natural order of things is for prices to get cheaper over time. Government's intervention is what makes things more expensive. So Bitcoin, all it's doing, because it's sound money, because it's real money, because it's unconfiscatable money, because it's uncorruptible money, is that it's allowing reality to play out in real time the way it should, free of government intervention. And this is why certain elements of government and certain political parties are so against it, because they benefit from the manipulation of money. They benefit from the controls of money, and they benefit it to benefit themselves at the expense of everyone else. Because make no mistake, money printing is wealth redistribution. It's taking money from others to give to other people. Specifically, it's wealth redistribution from the lower and middle classes that don't have the means to save in assets back to the government and back to the very wealthy that do have the means to save in assets. AKA, it is theft. But how things normally should work is that things should get progressively cheaper over time. And because Bitcoin is protected, because Bitcoin is uncorruptible, if it stays decentralized and secure, it's going to continue to highlight the way that the things should normally work, right? So anyways, I'm going to show you this website that I've been showing you guys for so many times. And even with the manipulation of money and how that's just completely changing things, if you take a look at what happens when you live on a Bitcoin standard, things over a long enough time period get progressively cheaper. That includes housing, that includes the S&P 500, that includes gold, that includes oil, that includes the dollar. Things get cheaper when you move to a Bitcoin standard. And this is what Jeff is talking about when he's throwing out this $43 million prediction per Bitcoin. This is what he's talking about. And this is what makes me so optimistic about the future. Now, Jeff's understanding of this is much deeper than mine. I have the surface level. I've read Jeff's book. I've spoken to Jeff many times in person. And of course, he's been on Simply Bitcoin IRL many times. But the way that he explains it, clearly he understands it. And Bitcoin is a representation of that. I can't emphasize that enough. Bitcoin is a representation of how money should work. And because it's uncorruptible, it's showing you that this isn't just the theory that things should get progressively cheaper. It's an actuality. It's showing you that things get cheaper. This is the way that society should function. The reason it's not functioning this way is because governments are intervening. When they do the endless wars, when they do these social programs, when you have Joe Biden basically saying there's been zero inflation, but we're going to get involved and we're going to invest more into climate change, what he's essentially saying is we're going to print more money. And printing money is theft. They're taking money. If you are holding on to dollars, they are directly stealing from you every time they debase the currency. With Bitcoin, they can't do that. That's why you have this hostile reaction. With Bitcoin, you know, the amount of Bitcoin being mined every single day, the inflation rate is set in stone. Not only is it set in stone, it actually gets cut in half every 4 years, right? Anyways, this is the importance of uncorruptible money. So I'm going to play you guys this clip. It's a little bit long, and then Opti and I will talk about it.
It's muted, Nico.
It is? For me, it's playing.
I'm not hearing anything.
Let me try refreshing it. How about now?
No, I'm not hearing anything. Maybe it's just me, though. Chat, let me know.
It is not. Oh, my God. What is going on?
Maybe it's muted up on the top of the tab, but yeah, I'm not hearing anything.
Let me open another tab and play it again. And we're doing it live.
We do this live.
All right, let's try that one more time. Here we go.
I'm still not hearing anything.
All right, Opti, you want to hold it down while I download
here, let me
this?
see. Wait, let me see. Send me the link. Maybe I can pull it up. Yeah, no sound. Everyone's saying no sound.
Yeah, hold it down while I download this.
Drop it in the private chat and let me see if I can pull it up and you download it. One sec. Just put it in private chat. Or actually, I could probably find it.
Yeah, I'm downloading it, but holding out. Anyways, Opti, what do you just explain to me your kind of experience on, you know, on all this while you know,
yeah, so
is this something that am I crazy? Is this something that you've experienced as well?
One thing I've said before on the show, like you guys know, my God-given name is not Optimus Field. It's a pseudonym that I chose when I had a 350 person Twitter account. And for some reason, ever since, and I was doing the same thing I've been doing here. I was, you know, talking about Bitcoin, but ever since I put Optimus Fields on my account, it took a life of its own. And I've personally felt this exact same thing. Of course, left side of the bell curve here. I can't explain it as well as Jeff Booth does, but I've learned throughout this whole journey that something about Bitcoin, you know, obviously relieving financial stress makes you start to think about other things. Like once you get up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and you avoid just survival, you can start to think about more things. And I think that's what we all feel in the world of the fiat culture we live in. It's like everyone's stressed about money because there's like never enough money to go around. And then you start saving in Bitcoin and you actually have something to hold on to. And you start to realize I can focus my energies on other things. And so Lightning Guts in the chat always says, and he's been on the show and said it before, like the way of Opti is the way. Like this is how we win, is by our optimism about the future. Because on the other side, everyone's nihilistic. Everyone's scared about what the future is going to bring. Everyone knows there's some kind of danger coming down the pipeline in regards to the status quo culture, the fiat culture. But us Bitcoiners, we're always thinking about the future. We're always thinking about, you know, lowering our time preference and realizing, it's not just about me. It's about future generations coming after me.
100%. And I think that's because we've changed our unit of account. Anyways, I have the video ready. Let's check it out.
Just keep saying, like, over and over and over again, the natural state of the free market is deflation. And once you understand that, then you understand everything else is stopping it. And if you think your prices are going up, and if you think this politician and this is going to be growth, like listen to politicians talk about growth today. They're talking about their productivity growth is faster deflation. So what they're actually talking about is we're going to manipulate money faster to steal more money from you. They're not talking about growth at all. So just keep going. The natural state of the free market is deflation. Then everything that stops it is not a political system. It's not an economic system. It's a control system. And it's so critical. Now, why that's important in AI is as AI moves faster and faster, which it inevitably will, exponentially, and it merges with robots that can do anything that you can do way better, faster. The business that hires that brings in robots that you say you won't use because they're removing labor, you will use because it's cheaper for you. You will use it. And if a business doesn't use that, they will go broke because you will choose differently. So if your choices are driving this to lower and lower prices, shouldn't you benefit in an economic system that is repricing that and sharing that abundance with all people on earth? That's what Bitcoin is doing. So Bitcoin is, and if you just took kind of $900 trillion balance sheet, which is the world's balance sheet today, and there's 21 million Bitcoin, then the implied value, as long as it stays decentralized and secure, of Bitcoin is about $43 million per Bitcoin today. But that $900 trillion, because you just 900 trillion divided by 21 million, all it has to do is stay decentralized and secure for in time that to be true. It's repricing the other system. But $900 trillion balance sheet today has $400 trillion of debt against it. And that debt is already insolvent. And if it was actually marked to market, the balance sheet of the world wouldn't be 900 trillion. You'd have a cascading collapse. All real estate prices, banks would fail, everything would collapse. Mm-hmm. So the only reason it's 900 trillion, essentially what you're measuring the world through, and you're part of that ledger, the only reason it's 900 trillion is because you think the debt is solvent, and you will vote for somebody who manipulates money instead of allowing a collapse. What does that mean? That means probably 4 or 5 years from now, the $900 trillion balance sheet won't be 900 trillion. It would be 2 quadrillion. And then if Bitcoin versus that balance sheet and the cost of living from there was 90 million terminal value of Bitcoin, it would be the same purchasing power, right? But the more important part is what I'll say here. Prices fall forever. So relative to Bitcoin, your $43 million purchasing power and terminal value today buys more and more forever, because prices will fall relative to it forever. So as a general case, if you just say, how much do I own of the ledger, the 900 trillion today, and make sure you own at least that in Bitcoin, and then as you start to understand this more, you start to understand what's happening, start to move some of your time from the system that's co-opting your attention to the system that's uniting people and building to truth, hope, and abundance. And you'll find yourself more happier as you do that, because it's consistent where we are going as a society.
So, I mean, like, beautifully said by, Jeff Booth. He has an elegant way of absolutely putting it. Shout out to Natalie, obviously, for hosting him. But yeah, man, I mean, it's absolutely, I remember when he told me that when he came on Simply Bitcoin IRL, like, it's so hard to understand because of how much time we've spent in this system of just things getting progressively more expensive. It's very difficult to understand, and also to opt out, because he said it at the very end. He's like, don't even give that system your time, right? Because that's essentially what it's doing. It's parasitic in nature. It sucks your attention. It drains your money. It drains your time. I would even say, like, it drains your spiritual energy in a way, right? And if you just migrate to just thinking in Bitcoin and building in Bitcoin and using Bitcoin as your unit of account, like, I've seen my life get better. I've seen Opti's life get better. I've seen my family's life get better as I've migrated to a Bitcoin standard. And I 100% agree with Jeff Booth in the sense that, what the total global economy is, the 900 trillion, whatever that number is. Yeah, I think over time, all things that are inferior stores of value and the bloated stores of value, I think are going to migrate to towards Bitcoin. That's my take on all this. Yeah, I mean, McLovin says it best. Stop being a battery for the Matrix. I think that's a very, very, very good point. Lightning Goat says, yeah, it is a vampire system. Anyways, yeah, I'm so bullish on the future. CK says it, you're not bullish enough. And I think Jeff Booth just has such an elegant way of just putting it, voicing it, understanding the concept that, you know, Bitcoin is the true price signals on things. It's not dollars, it's Bitcoin. Like, you know, when you're looking at housing, at food in the grocery store, price your life in Bitcoin. Like, look at how things will change for you, because it's actually showing, it's actually giving you the benefits of technology deflation versus the dollar. That the benefits of technology deflation is being literally taken from the populace, given back to the state. And then Bitcoin is giving that back to the people. And this is why the state inherently dislikes it. This is why the state inherently dislikes self-custody, because they've been operating in a system of theft. And in a system of theft, coercion is necessary for that system to function. So, yeah, Jeff Booth dropping the hot fire. Opti, what's your take on this before I move on to the culture?
Yeah, well, you know, Jeff Booth has a way of making me feel like I am not bullish enough. He's so calm when he does it. So it makes me feel like, man, I know when I get excited and I talk about Bitcoin, I get super bulltarded, and I'm just loud by nature. So everyone's like, oh, he's just crazy, write him off. But when Jeff Booth does it, it's like very calm, collected, and you realize like, wow, maybe he's thought about this a little more than I have, when a lot of us Bitcoiners just get stupidly bullish and we just throw crazy numbers out. But when you hear that segment, you're like, yeah, you know, the world is trending to zero against Bitcoin, and they're slowly waking up to it. And this is why I know Nico yells at me all the time I say it, but Jeff Booth says it in a way nicer way. I just speak in memes, so it sounds rough. But this is why we say it's parasitic relationship. They literally, the greatest trick that has ever been pulled on humanity is this idea that we have to use paper money, something that they can literally print to oblivion. They can debase our currency. They can pretty much take all of our wealth, all of our life force, make sure we are stuck in the rat race. And as long as people don't understand the mechanism of inflation or how the fiat system works, they're basically able to just sit there and take our life force away so that they can build all this stuff, and we all stay poor, and we are never able to, you know, rise up out of our natural born position. And this is why we love Bitcoin so much, is because if you prove the work, if you work hard, you stack sats, you're responsible, you have some discipline, like you're able to move up in life and become a better person. And this is why I think it is so important to continue to remind people that this is about living a better life. Not only is it like what Nico, we put in the title of like, you know, you're going to get rich, or in the thumbnail, it's about improving freedom on planet Earth. It's about improving your personal sovereignty. It's about improving your health and your wealth and your mental stability here, because we've all been stolen from for the last hundreds of years, ever since the Federal Reserve was created. We've been stolen from. It used to be, you know, coin clipping, like from central banks in the past. It used to be, you know, the reason we even got the fiat in the first place is because we couldn't trust the metal, or metallurgists, you know, the goldsmiths out there. So like now Satoshi has given us a technology that can't be stolen from. As long as you take your private keys into self-custody, as long as you're owning your Bitcoin and not trusting someone else with it, your wealth will no longer get debased. And if we've seen anything in the last, 10, 20 years since social media and you know, the internet age, technology gets cheaper over time. And I think we've said it on the show before, that as much as we love the internet and it's given us all this stuff and we're all interconnected, I'm kind of leaning into the idea that the sole purpose of the internet was to give us Bitcoin. It just took a little while for it to actually happen. And now we have this technology that you can store, that you can hold on for the long term, and your wealth cannot get debased. That's what this is all about. The fiat system is literally stealing from you, and it does it so silently and so subtly that most people aren't aware of how this works. And this is why the traditional financial system is so murky and complicated in the first place, is because, hey, you're too dumb to understand how this works. Trust the experts, trust the money managers. We know what we're doing. And now Bitcoin has, decentralized, or using another D word, democratize money, in the sense that you don't need to go to other people. You just need to save Bitcoin and your life gets better. And again, this is why we started this bit with it has, I know the spiritual word is a little, woo woo to people, but it has a intangible improvement on your psychology. And I think it was Loco in the chat who said, like, I've never met an unhappy Bitcoiner. It's like, yes, a lot of the things we talk about is doom and gloom because we see what's going on. We're very pragmatic of the situation we're in. But when you start talking about Bitcoin and what it does for the future, it's hard not to get hopeful. It's hard not to have hope and be happy and looking forward towards the future that's coming. It's hard not to be optimistic when you are a Bitcoiner. And this is why we love Bitcoin.
Amen to that. Amen to that. All right, everybody, before we move on to the culture, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. And by the way, if you're an existing customer of Bitcoin Well, every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn Bitcoin Well points. And you could redeem those points. You could use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well. The Bitcoin Wishing Well is a little kind of like raffle contest thing. Basically, you toss a coin into the Bitcoin Wishing Well, and you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshi. So I'm going to do two tosses today. First person to scan the QR code gets the 500 sats. We're going to toss another coin you can win up to 1 million Satoshis. Let's see what happens. One more toss. And 500 sats. So first person to scan those QR codes gets free Satoshis. Again, if you use the promo code simplybtc, you get 3 tosses into the Wishing Well for free. And you can only do this obviously on Bitcoin Well. Also, their sell feature was just released. So for whatever reason you want to sell your Bitcoin, you could do it through bitcoinwell.com as well. So head over to bitcoinwell.com, support self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramps. Also want to give a shout out to the Orange Pill app. The Orange Pill app is the Bitcoin social layer. Stack friends who stats. Join the 11,178 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. Has a really cool geographical feature. So if you move to a new city, you're traveling, whatever it is you're doing, you could pull up the Orange Pill app and it will literally show you the Bitcoiners that are near you. It's a great way to connect with fellow Bitcoiners. It's the best way to reach me directly if you want to contact me for whatever reason. Download the Orange Pill app, pull it up. You could send me a DM and I will get back to you. So download the Orange Pill app today, scan the QR code, or check the link in the video description. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture.
The Daily Culture.
I want to give a shout out to KABOOMRACKS. KABOOMRACKS is the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. You got to check out their racks today. You can do that by checking the link in the video description or scanning the QR code. That will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with them, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with KABOOMRACKS. Also, check out their special deal that's going on right now. They're offering instant hosting for an S19K Pro. Your hash rate goes online after your payment is confirmed. You own the miner. This is not a hash rate contract. To get started, scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. All right, everybody, we're going to talk about UTXO Management, something that is incredibly important. There's a fly in my room. It's going everywhere. And something that a lot of Bitcoiners, especially people that are just going in, don't fully appreciate. So what is UTXO Management option?
Yeah. All right. So first, though, I'm going to start over here on mempool.space so you guys can check for yourself. I know for the last couple of weeks, people are like, oh, the fees are never going to go down. Ever since the halving, there was all this crazy runes and ordinal stuff that made the halving block an incredible amount of money. But you can see here, I'm on mempool.space. The mempools seem to be clearing out at 6 sats. Fees is pretty reasonable. Will we ever get back to 1 sat fees? Who knows? But 6 sat fees it's a pretty good time to be consolidating your UTXOs. This is why I've been wanting to bring this up for you guys, is because right now is as good a time as ever to consolidate some UTXOs. So I do have some reading here for you guys. I actually will drop this in the description for you guys after the show. So if you want to go back and read this whole thing for yourself, it'll be in the description once the show ends. Right now, I forgot to do that before. But anyways, I'm over here on a lot blog. I actually have 2 posts here that will kind of elaborate on what's going on. So this one is titled Economically Unspendable Bitcoin UTXOs and to UTXO Management Guidance for Avoiding Shooting Yourself in the Foot. So going into this a little bit, what is a UTXO? Someone in the chat asked what a UTXO is. So a UTXO is an unspent transaction output, or in a layman's terms, a deposit that has been made into your wallet. Every time you receive a Bitcoin deposit, a new UTXO is created that will later need to be spent. Just think about it this way. It's all UTXOs, all the quote unquote Bitcoin that you own. It's only UTXOs. It's UTXOs all the way down. Everything that you are quote unquote holding in your wallet is just an unspent transaction output. And every time you send a Bitcoin, a transaction, it turns into another unspent transaction output. It's only UTXOs. That's how Bitcoin works. Again, not getting you lost in the weeds here, but let's go into kind of what you should be doing. So an economically unspendable UTXO is a UTXO that costs more to spend than it's worth. And a lot of times when you hear new entrants into Bitcoin, they may have been stacking small amounts of Bitcoin, then the fees rise and they're like, oh my God, Bitcoin doesn't work. Like, this is broken, this is trash. And it's like, no, you don't understand how the Bitcoin network works in general. So the Bitcoin network has always grabbed with the concept of dust, which is the creation of UTXOs that have basically no value, but are undesirable because they increase the size of the global UTXO set. And right now, I'm pretty sure it actually depends. And this is what the next article is going to be. I'm not going to cover it all, but you really don't want any UTXO under, I think, depending on if your address is 1, it's under 546 sats, I believe. And it kind of varies depending on the other receiving Bitcoin addresses that you get. Anyways, why should you care? A recurring pattern, like I said, with Bitcoin wallet, someone starts using Bitcoin during a bear market. The fees are dirt cheap. They may get into mining. They're stacking the activity results in daily or weekly deposits into their wallet. Or if you're stacking with our sponsor Bitcoin, well, every time you buy Bitcoin, it sends you a UTXO, and you probably have a bunch of UTXOs in your wallet, and you don't really know how this stuff works. And so if the fees get crazy and you're buying small amounts of Bitcoin, it might become unspendable in the future. So let's just go down again. I'm not going to get all into this, but was there a portion in here? I thought this was the one. Okay, it must be this next one. This one on Bitcoin Magazine, to dust you shall return, an analysis on different free rates and the consequences that has on the economics of spending UTXOs of different values. Actually, let me show you this picture here. So you can think of it this way. Again, in meme forms, what we're doing here is, so say you received one UTXO, one Bitcoin transaction, and right here it's 0.000018, and then you receive a second Bitcoin transaction of 0.025 to a different address. Well, now in your wallet, you can think of it like having a bunch of bills in your wallet, and it could be think of it like a $1 bill or a $5 bill, or maybe like 99 cents, and you want to turn it into $1. That's kind of how you can use a framework here. And all you really have to do, guys, is just pick your UTXOs. If you have like Sparrow or Electrum, or a lot of phone wallets will also allow you to pick UTXOs, but some of the wallets kind of make sure that you don't know any of this complexity. And all you got to do is basically just send a transaction with a big chunk of your Bitcoin to a new address in your wallet, and that will consolidate your UTXOs. So again, okay, here we go. This is the one I was looking for. So this is on BTC Sessions, how to consolidate UTXOs. It's super easy. If you're using a wallet like Sparrow Wallet, you can select specific UTXOs to consolidate or consolidate all at once. The process involves selecting the UTXOs you wish to consolidate, or if you're using one of the smartphone wallets, just send a transaction of a good chunk of the total Bitcoin in your wallet to a new address in your wallet, and you're consolidating UTXOs. So again, you just send them to another address in your Bitcoin wallet, label the address so you can easily identify it and all that good stuff. So the next question, because the process is easy, literally just send a Bitcoin transaction to yourself with the UTXOs you select, or say you have, say you've been stacking 1 million sats for the last 50 weeks. And in your wallet, it says you own half a Bitcoin, but in reality, you have 50 UTXOs in your wallet. All you got to do is say, I don't know, create like a 10 million transaction and send it to yourself, and you're good to go. That's literally the process. But there are some considerations. And again, I'm not going to read this whole article, but my boy Joe Rogers at Bitcoin Magazine broke it down completely. Again, I will drop it into the description so you guys can read this yourself. So the key takeaways is dust thresholds is lower than you think, especially in high transaction fee markets. When withdrawing BTC from exchanges, consider waiting until your balance is above 1 million sats or 0.01 before sending to your storage. If you have many small under 0.001 or 100,000 UTXOs, you must consolidate them into larger UTXOs while fees are low. So this isn't a necessary science here, but what you want to be doing is just consider the amount of Bitcoin you have. If you're part of a DCA program and you're stacking, say, like $100 every week, then over time, you're going to have to consolidate your UTXOs. And again, it's literally just taking an amount of those UTXOs and sending it to a new address within your own wallet. And that's consolidating your UTXOs, consolidating your Bitcoin. And so the real discussion here that I think we should have, Nico, is what size UTXOs should you have? As I said, and you guys could read these articles for yourself, a lot of people say like 1 million sats is probably the lower end that you should have if you're trying to hold this Bitcoin for the long term. If you're just spending this Bitcoin, like, whatever, it's your money of choice right now, and you're like, I really don't care. I'm spending this Bitcoin as it comes in. I have a good savings, and then I'll consolidate, in a couple of days when I know I have extra profits. Totally agree with that. But if you are a Bitcoiner that has probably been stacking for the last 2-3 years, maybe 4 years in this bear market, and you've never done any UTXO management, and you're just like, okay, my wallet says I have 50 million sats in here, but I've never consolidated, and I've been buying Bitcoin at $100 chunks this whole time, then you're going to have to consolidate.
Or you will fucking wreck yourself.
Or you will wreck yourself. And so, a lot of people will have different choices on this. I think you can kind of think of this like having a $1 bill, $5 bill.
We should like okay,
$10 bill, $20 bill, $100 bill, etc.
If you guys are using Sparrow or Electrum, I like Electrum because it gives you more information. I understand people are gonna be like, "Man, it's Electrum, Nico, that's fucking crazy." But that's just my first wallets. That's what I'm used to. If you go, both those wallets give you the ability to check out your coins, to check out your balances, and it will show you how many transactions are associated with a certain address, right? And if you've been just withdrawing from wherever, if you've been mining or you've been sending people the same address for like $100 transaction, they will reach a point. If you're sending $10 Bitcoin transactions to a single address, you will reach a point, unfortunately, where you might, like, just paying the fees will wreck your, like, it will be an unusable UTXO, because either you won't have enough money to pay for the fees, or the fees themselves are just going to basically cost you the amount. And you don't want to put yourself in that situation, which is, we're getting to a point where Bitcoin is getting expensive enough where you should really be kind of picking and choosing the size of the transactions that you're sending. So you want to be sending like minimum at this point, like $100 at one point. If on chain. If you shouldn't be sending $10 on chain to your self-custody wallet every single time, because you will have to pay a fee for every single,
and the fees add up.
And there was a point when the halving was happening that the fees got all the way up to like $30, $50, $60. And if you're sending a $10 UTXO and the fees are $50, $60, now they're like $1. It's fine.
That's an unspendable UTXO.
That's an unspendable UTXO. Like, yeah, you have that Bitcoin, but you can't use it. So you have to consolidate, and then you have to be kind of wise a little bit. I know this is probably scaring the shit out of people, but
exactly.
It's just the reality of like. And by the way, 5 years from now, fees are gonna get to a point where they're gonna be very expensive. For most people, for the vast majority of people. Like if you're class of 2024, like you are at the very, very end of Bitcoin being used for small expenses. This is exactly what Lightning is for. Lightning is great at this point. Like if you don't have like Strike in the US is phenomenal. Bitcoin Well has a feature. It's so freaking cool that you can literally send Bitcoin via Lightning to a Bitcoin Well Lightning address, and it will literally sell it for you automatically and deposit the dollars into your account. Like Lightning has come so far, and Lightning is meant for those smaller transactions. But for those bigger transactions, $100, $1,000, $10,000, on-chain is still viable. You just have to be kind of like you have to be wary. Like I would say anything under $50, I would be wary. I would just be like kind of think about it and stuff. Just because you can wreck yourself if you're not aware of it.
100%. Hey, Nika, let's respond to this question here. So Miko goes, UTXO management is only necessary for people who store Bitcoin in cold wallets. If you save on exchange, which is not recommended, you don't have to worry about UTXOs, true or false. So answering this question, yes, every single person in this chat should be concerned about UTXO management because you are taking your Bitcoin into cold storage. With that being said, exchanges have to manage their UTXOs. So they're doing it for you. And, whenever you withdraw, they'll send you however much Bitcoin you're withdrawing to your address. So like, it's one of those things, like I said, UTXOs, it's all UTXOs. Like that's all it is. So you're going to eventually have to get to the point where you manage your UTXOs, make sure your hygiene is good when it comes to UTXOs, because you don't want to get in this position to get wrecked. So going back to the analogy, and I know not everyone's here, but just to like think about this easily, if you kind of relate this or correlate this to dollar bills in your wallet, we have different sizes of dollars, 1, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100. Well, you can kind of break that down for your UTXO. This is how you should be thinking of it. So if you have one whole coin, you can do, a 100 million sat UTXO. So you have one coin in your wallet. So you're part of the metrics and you're like, yeah, I'm a whole coiner. This is dope. Probably not recommended if you are planning to spend that Bitcoin, because then if you do a million sat transaction, everyone's going to know that you have a whole coin, which is, privacy concerns. That's maybe something you should think about. So I think the way to kind of think about this, again, say you have a whole coin, 100 million sats, then maybe you want different size UTXOs, and you can think of these different size UTXOs like your savings and the coin that you want to spend. So maybe you want a 50 million sat UTXO, 220 million sat UTXOs, a 10 million sat UTXO, or you can kind of play with that if you know that like that 10 million sats I'm going to spend, so you can break it down into smaller portions. So this is just how you should be thinking about it. But I think the best thing to think about for long-term storage, you probably shouldn't have a UTXO under 1 million sats. I would probably say higher if you're stacking, if you got some good Bitcoin out there, a good bag. You should probably get higher than 1 million sats. I know 1 million sats right now to some people is a lot of money. What's 1 million sats? It's like a $600 or $580 or something like that. So that's probably how you should think about this.
Just so you know, guys, like Bitcoin is on the verge of, and people are going to be very upset when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Bitcoin is on the verge of not being usable on chain for the vast majority of people. Most people, I would say the vast majority of people, when they come in, they're going to be using Lightning. They're going to be using second and third layer solutions, just because of the fact that it's unviable to be transacting using the main chain because of the fees. And it's not happening now. Like it's still in that era but 5-10 years from now, most people are going to be using Fedimins or Lightning or second or third layer solutions to interact with Bitcoin. And then, of course, if you have a sufficient amount of Bitcoin, then you'll be migrating to on-chain Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, it's that's the reality of it. Congratulations for anyone who's in the chat right now. You can still get a single Bitcoin at 57,538. Me and Opti were doing episodes when, or I was doing.
I still do a million sats at $100.
I was doing episodes when Bitcoin was at 3,500 or 4,000. So we've obviously come a very long way since then. That's the reality of Bitcoin. Lightning is going to be incredible. Fedimint is incredible. So it's not like second, third layer solutions are bad. But if you are using the base layer, you gotta pay attention to UTXOs because you can and will get wrecked.
Yeah, also, remember, you're your own bank.
On another, which comes with responsibility. On another type of conversation, not with the Passport hardware wallet, but with other hardware wallets, you will be limited in terms of how many transactions you'll be able to sign for. So, like for example, like a Ledger, for whatever reason you're still using a Ledger. I've seen it in the past, and you will wreck yourself because the Ledger, little computer inside the Ledger doesn't have the computing power to sign, multiple UTXOs that it's going to have to sign for if you're spending for it. So you want to consolidate over time. And maybe we should do like a in-air tutorial. If you guys want to see that, kind of let us know in the chat. Maybe we actually bring BTC sessions.
He's actually going to come on soon, but we're going to talk about how to live off Bitcoin. So maybe we can add that too.
Yeah. So, and we'll do like kind of like a live in-air tutorial of that. Anyways, Opti, we are getting to the top of the hour. Do you have any final thoughts for the audience other than scaring them shitless?
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to say, guys. It's really not that complicated. Just send a Bitcoin transaction to yourself. It's just something you need to think about if you are. And the reason we brought this up is because we love Bitcoin Well. We love Adam. And I saw you guys in the chats, like, what does Bitcoin Well do with what is their UTXO management strategy? And they're basically, the strategy is you have to do it. They don't want to hold your Bitcoin. So depending on how much Bitcoin you're buying is just a consideration to have if you're doing, a $10 to $100 DCA plan with them every week or whatever. Like, you will be receiving small UTXO. So over time they'll build up, and you got to consolidate them. And it's literally as easy as just sending yourself a transaction.
Your wallet, yeah, exactly. Your wallet will do it for you.
Yeah.
Let me show you kind of like what that looks like. Here, I pulled up a great kind of shot of what this would look like in the
there you go.
So like this is an example of a consolidation, right? So this person owned all this Bitcoin and all these separate addresses, right? And what they did was that they just sent all of that Bitcoin to a single address. Therefore, they consolidated it, right? That's literally as simple as that.
Fancy words. It's fancy words to say sending yourself some Bitcoin.
So because every time you receive Bitcoin, you're receiving it to a new address. Your wallet will automatically, if that wallet has been used, it will give you a new address, right? What you want to do is, especially in the smaller amounts, is you want to consolidate that. So you want to send all of that Bitcoin that's in all those different addresses, and you want to send it to a brand new address. And what that does is it consolidates all of that Bitcoin into one UTXO. And you want to do that. It's called UTXO Management. I highly suggest it. It seems way more complicated than what it is.
Exactly. One last thing, Nico, because there's a good comment in here.
And take advantage of the low fee environment.
Exactly.
So every time
That's why I'm saying it now.
are low, every time fees are low right now, I don't know what the fees are.
I was just checking. It was like 6. It's like 6.
So every time fees are low. Yeah. So look, you want to take advantage of it right now because high priority right now is 48 cents. So this is a low fee
It's in
environment.
Bitcoin, it's in sats, so it's 6 sats.
6 sats. So you want to take advantage of low fee environment, because in a high fee environment, it's not going to be 48 cents. It's going to be like $30-$40, and you will absolutely get
Okay, last thing before
Copernicus is just an absolute troll, bro. That's not a dox, bro. That's literally a post from Twitter, fool.
I know, he's trolling. All right, so Dynasty asks, should I consolidate UTXOs that are already in cold storage? Is this a problem if I don't or haven't done that? Yes, this is why I'm telling you this now, because if you have just been DCAing to cold storage on small, UTXO sizes, say it's like $100 and it's just going straight into your cold storage. Well, if you hodl that for 10 years from now and the Bitcoin network gets as popular as we think it's going to be, a lot of that Bitcoin, those UTXOs are going to be unspendable. This is why I'm telling you this now. And thank you for the question, so we can clarify that. This is why you want to consolidate your UTXOs, put them into larger chunks, so that if you're holding them for the long run, you are going to be able to spend your Bitcoin eventually. This is why we're here, to protect you guys, make sure you guys have good UTXO hygiene, make sure you guys are taking your Bitcoin into cold storage. We tell you guys to always take Bitcoin into cold storage. And this is part of the responsibility of being your own bank, of owning your own money. These are some of the considerations. Again, it's not that complicated. Like, I know we're using some big words, but it's literally just sending yourself a Bitcoin transaction within your own wallet. That's all you have to do. The only part of it that's an art is just you asking yourself, how big do I want these UTXOs? How long am I going to hold this Bitcoin? What am I trying to do with this Bitcoin? If I'm going to spend it, a year or two, 1 million sats is probably good. 10 million sats is probably good. But if you want to consolidate your Bitcoin, again, if you have a whole coin, think about adding adding them together to bigger UTXOs, and you'll be good and protect yourself for the long run. All right, Nico. I think we hit him with way too much. What we're gonna do
next is we're gonna do like a live on-air tutorial of doing this, so you guys can kind of see it. Let us know down in the comments what wallets you guys use, and then we'll make sure to use those wallets, and we'll kind of give you an example of what a UTXO consolidation looks like, so you guys can get.
It feels like we can keep talking about UTXO management for people.
So if you guys use Sparrow, Electrum, Blue Wallet, let us know down in the comments, and we'll use those wallets. On the show. Anyways, I'm your host, Nico. This is my co-host, Optimus Fields. This is Simply Bitcoin for July 10th, 2024. Seems like you guys liked today's episode, so smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. We'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.